All right, I think we are live with the Mike Carlin himself.
We are live. It's Wednesday. It's
Happy Wednesday, Christian.
Yeah, halfway through most of our work weeks.
It's home day.
Days a week. So
yeah, these weeks tick off pretty quickly.
Do you have anything this weekend?
Do what?
Do you have anything going on this weekend?
So we are doing Thanksgiving on Sunday, early Thanksgiving to kind of get that out of the way. And Saturday, I feel like there's something, but I don't remember what it was at the moment. That's pretty, maybe not. I know I'm doing some training for Ironman and paddle. What about you? How's your weekend?
This is my first weekend that I don't have anything going on. Because I've had football seasons done now for Mikey, and then we don't have any trainings this weekend. So this is literally my first weekend in about 4 months.
Yeah, so that's why it feels odd for me to sit here and say I don't have anything. Like, I feel like there's something, but you know what? That's how it goes, man. That's how it moves. It does get tiring. You know, I think people don't get to see that side when you travel all weekend and you go to a training or you go to an event and you come back Monday's Monday. Right, it's right back in the saddle, and so like you miss that some of that recovery time, but it's part
it takes effort to get back. I'm still sleepy from SEMA, so
recovering from SEMA this time. I think it was the length of time that we were out there, and you know what, the food's kind of garbage, and water at $8 a bottle. You're sure not drinking the amount of water that you're supposed to drink. You can afford to. Like, who wants to spend $100 a day on water? So dehydration and terrible food, and then jet lag just from the time zone difference. And then you know what? Listen, here's a something that we don't give enough credit to. But the sun going down early every day, dude. Less sun exposure. Holy crap, big time. So
I think I might move my office outside from now on during the day because there's less sunlight. So it'll be cold up in Wisconsin, but if you see me in a coat outside and a table, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get some
sun. We doing nice, nice. So we have a topic today. Let's see. We have a topic today, and it's humble beginnings. And Mr. Carlin, you'll be helping me with a boat detail if it doesn't get done tomorrow Friday. Well, it sounds like your weekend's stacked up with a boat detail.
You know, but that to me is okay. Like, I'm not saying I want to come into work, but it's weird not traveling. Like, it's been months of travel, so I'd be okay with that. I need to get the shop cleaned up for our training coming up. But yeah, humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings. So, you brought up this topic, Mike. I'll let you kind of kick it off, and we'll start by talking about things that, as we were younger, how life was, and kind of, go through the process of where we are now. And we'll talk about how that, how that was and how relative it is to, our people that are in this industry and a lot of people in general.
Yeah. So this conversation actually, it was sparked last night. I was talking to my nephews and just, reminiscing about our past, where we've come, where we are now. And my nephew had said, man, would you have thought 20 years ago you were going to be where you are today? And it made me really start thinking about my past, like where I came from. A lot of people don't know, like I grew up, my mom and dad were very, very hard workers. Probably not the best at saving money, and they never made a lot of money. They just worked really hard. We grew up in a trailer house. I grew up my whole life in a trailer house. In fact, it was an old one. I remember patching the floor because it was, there'd be times where it'd rot out or whatever. So it was nothing fancy at all. Right. And I think when I was a junior in high school, they bought a brand new trailer house. But so that was my life. Like I grew up that way. Of course, it's wasn't as bad back then as it is now as far as kids, what they thought about people that lived in trailers. Well, your trailer, trailer trash or whatever they want to label it, right? Redneck, whatever they want to say. But because of that, I remember like my mom and dad back then would be giving me like $20 to go do my school shopping. $20. Like that would buy your pants. You know, you might get a new pair of pants like a Wranglers or something for $12 or $9 or whatever. So you'd have to choose like, what am I going to buy? You know, they buy all the other stuff, the pencils and paper and stuff, but they give you $25 to do that. So that forced my brother and I back then to we took on every single paper route in town of Stanley, which Stanley's not big, but there was a lot of different papers that were there that were out of town papers. So we had, I think, like 4 different routes, and him and I would peddle papers every single day.
And you did those things. You were doing that because you realized like that's not the life you wanted to live. You wanted to have the things. You wanted to have the cool shoes, the cool clothes, the money to spend on whatever you wanted to spend it on.
Yeah, the fact of the matter was, if I wanted a pair of Nikes, I could take that $20 and put it towards it, or I had to figure out how I was going to pay for the rest. Because even back then, I think the first real expensive pair of shoes I got were the Shaq pumps, Reebok, like $130-$140. My mom and dad thought I was crazy.
So it's so funny you're bringing up shoes, because I had a very similar background. We didn't have a whole lot of money. My mom, when I lived with her, and she was not about to spend a dime on cool clothes or cool shoes. Shoes, let me tell you something. Shoe shopping was horrible for me, because like we had a budget. Like we had okay, you can spend $40. $40 wasn't buying the cool Nikes. That just wasn't happening.
No.
I was getting, I thought I was something when I got a pair of New Balances one time. And like
Corvette too while you're at it.
Yeah. And then so to make it worse, I had moved in with my grandmother for a little while, per my request. And we were dirt poor there. Like it was a shack and I lived in a pantry, but this was something. So this sticks with me to this day, but we would go yard selling with $0 to spend, not a quarter, not a dime, not a dollar, zero. And we would ride around her station wagon to yard sales and go look. And so to this day, like I can't stand yard sales, because I imagine walking around as a kid looking at things you wanted, but there was no chance of you getting. No chance. And so just like you, that instilled that work ethic very fast, because I wanted to have things that that my mom wasn't going to buy, my grandma couldn't buy, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so like that instilled that very fast, okay, I'm going to go work to control my destiny.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of relation that there's a lot of things that we share, with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So like that's how I was. I remember actually my mom and dad said they worked hard. My dad sometimes would come in on a Thursday and be like, "Hey, you got $20 I can borrow?" And I remember giving him $20. He always gave me that Friday. And I got to the point, it was an every week thing. So I finally said, "Hey, am I echoing on your side?"
Yeah. No, you're good on my side. Are you echoing?
I'm echoing for some reason, but so I finally got to the point where I said, "Hey, Dad, just keep the $20. Put it in your billfold. When you need to borrow it next time, borrow it from yourself and then pay yourself." And I was like 12 years old when I did that. But that was my whole high school life. And, what was scary was I didn't realize it until I got older, but I got into that part of where I felt like I had to buy material things to be happy. I remember my senior year, I bought a brand new truck, and it probably wasn't the best investment, but that was from all the years I worked, because I worked from paper out. Then I got a full-time job when I was 14, when the child labor laws didn't mean anything to whatever. And I bought a brand new truck when I was a senior. And, I did fine. I made all my payments and that, but looking back, I think from the time I was like 12 to the time I was in my 20s, I felt like the only way I could be happy is buying materialistic type things. Because it made me happy, because I didn't have that as a child.
Well, and we attribute that to the fruits of our labor, right? Like I can reward myself with this because I'm working hard over here, and I very much did the same thing. I was working hard, but I was always like looking for the next thing for that happiness or satisfaction. And what happens is it's instantaneous. Like you're happy for the first week of a new truck, that. And then it wears off, right? And now you're stuck with the payment, or you're stuck with the money out of the checking account. You're like, God, did I really need to spend that? Back then, that was 20 grand or 30 grand, 40 grand at most. But we all did that. Now, we were working. We didn't ask for somebody to hand it to us. We were working for those things. But, how much money would that be worth now to put to an investment plan? Or, and that's just different from different lifestyles, different families. Like, if you come from, there's a good book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it teaches, how to, raise your kids to think like a rich person thinks, quote unquote. And the poor person does, is always looking for that, that instant gratification. And you're looking for acceptance from your family. Like, hey, look at me, I did this thing, or from your friends and family, for sure.
Yeah. So I ended up getting married when I was young. I was 19 years old. And after, I don't know, 10 years or so, I went through a divorce. I had, at that point, I had a good corporate job. I started my retail shop in a garage at the house, and I outgrew the garage, and I rented my first shop. It was like 60 feet long and only like 15 feet wide. It was just one of them, not an ideal thing at all. Like the walkway was up in the front, so you had to pull all the way up front and then back all the way out. So that was my first shop, and it was like $600 a month. I went through my divorce, and I literally lost everything. I had cars, I had four-wheelers, I had muscle cars, I had 2 houses that I worked for, and I lost it all through my divorce. Ended up actually filing bankruptcy. It was the most humbling time of my life. Would have been about 14 years ago. To go from what I thought was where I wanted to be in my life to losing everything. But that was when, I quickly found out that it's all about stewardship, right? Like I'm a firm believer that the good man upstairs gives us things, and he expects us to, take care of them, but be able to bless and help other people too as we go.
Oh, absolutely. And so similar to your story as mine, my detail shop was the true form of humble beginnings. A carport, literally, that I didn't even, this was, the carports you buy like from the little guy on the side of the road, just like $1,200. Bought a carport and didn't even have enough money to get the extended legs because I had boats that we were detailing. So I picked it up and I put it on these big styrofoam blocks that I had found. And so my carport was like rickety. and it was not a pull through. It had an end to it, and you had to back everything out. And it was, it was a wash bay, it was a polish bay, or back then it was buffing, and wax bay, and there was brushes on the walls. Unfortunately, I was washing cars with brushes, and but my detailing journey was not. So I knew that I wasn't like aiming to be the best detailer in the world. My job was to build a detailing business that I could grow and put people in place to run the detailing business. I'm echoing now. As that grew, and I was married. I'd gotten married right around the time that I was building the detailing business. For 5 years, I was married and running this business and growing this business. I too went through a pretty rough divorce where it took me a step back, and it was more, not a lot of people know about my divorce. I tried to keep that very internal. Here around town, people knew it because my ex-wife's an idiot. But aren't they all? I mean, I'm sure she calls me an idiot too. So, but anyways, I try to keep that private, but it does. It's a reset, and to keep talking about these humble beginnings, and I think humble beginnings can happen all through life in all different stages. So humble beginnings as a child, where we were looking for shoes. Humble beginnings at a detail shop, we're sitting here laughing about a carport or a single bay that we were detailing in. humble beginnings as a divorced, father and fixing to start life in a whole new manner. Those are about as humble as they get,
Yep.
And then so you fast forward into buying a business like we have, and those are humble beginnings too. And I think that those things carry you through life, as in we have this nonstop attitude, or this just figure it out and build and learn and grow all along the way.
Yeah, and what I started to realize was, because I went from my garage to a junkie shop, then I built a new shop. I outgrew that in 3 years, and then we built this shop. But
Yeah.
I really refer to them humble beginnings, almost like a storm that we go through in our life. And the storm is only so long, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the beginning, the middle, and then the end. And each time we enter a storm, it's kind of that humble beginning, and we learn, we get stronger, we become successful, whatever it is, through that storm. And then we're ready for the next storm. There's always going to be another next storm. There's
There
another
is.
humble beginning coming, and it doesn't mean it's as bad as that first humble beginning, because we learn each time. But when we bought IGL Coatings, it's still a humble beginning, because we had to learn.
Boy, was it.
We know cash management now. It's like we have to learn this. We have to learn process. We have to figure out how to communicate with 6,000 installers the way it is. So. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
You cut out. I can hear you now. Now you're off.
Okay. No, you're exactly right, and it doesn't matter where you are in your life or your business journey. Those moments where it kind of takes you from, like, you may feel like you're on top of the world. You take a step up, and now you're the new guy again. Now you're humble. Like, now it's like, oh shit, I've been here before, and this is not fun. I've worked years to get out of this, and I've put myself back in this place. And I think people look and go, well, why would you do that? Why would you continue to do that? But, like, to me, like, there is no reach that point. Like, it's like I want to keep going, and I want to keep growing, and I want to face those new challenges. And I say that but when you're in the middle of it, it's so hard to fight through it and go through every day knowing that, okay, like, every day's a new day.
It is. It is. And I think as we've grown through our situations, like, I think about when we purchased IGL, we could have both said, hey, we're going to take the X amount of money that we each put down on this business, and I'm going to go buy a new boat, or I'm going to go buy a new car, or I'm going to go do that.
Yeah, a couple of nice houses.
Yeah. It's really I can't speak for you, but I know we think a lot alike. It's like we like to be tasked with a challenge, and we like to succeed, but in the end, we both like to help people. And that's really what this is all about, is as I look at, what we've been through from kids all the way up. I mean, everybody calls us brothers, and sometimes I wonder, like, because of the fact that our past is very similar, even the stuff we went through.
Very much so.
It just makes you, and in the end, we want to set our kids, our family up for success. But along with that, everybody that's part of our team, everybody that we're connected with, we want to make them successful. And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, to me, that's more important than myself. Like, I never think about success. When I think about success, I never think about me in that picture. Like, for whatever reason, it's and sounds cliche, and it probably sounds fake, but it's the reality for me. I think about everybody else. If everybody else is continuously climbing and going up and meeting their goals, then I inherently got to be doing the same thing. Like,
Yes.
if you are leading a team of people and a group of people, and maybe not leading, leading and following, okay, and they're coming up, you're just along for the ride too. And so I think that it's knowing that and understanding that is important. And listen, guys, there's times in business, and we can all relate to this, where you don't know how you're going to make. I talked to a guy the other day. He's coming back into our software. He went to another software. He's coming back, and he's like, "Man, I went through this rough time. I went through this really hard time." And he's telling me, he's like, I partnered up with this guy at his shop. It just turned out not to be the right thing to do. I left the shop, and then he's like, and man, I took one of those loans. He's like, I hate to even tell you this, but I took one of those loans, this daily thing. He's like, and it's just buried me. And, and so just so you know, like everybody that's listening, we all go through these times. Yeah. We all have moments where we're like, I don't know how I'm going to live through today. I don't know how I'm going to live through the next hour. Okay. Yeah. And you and I are no different than everybody else out there. We had times through buying IGL. I was like, we can't do this. How are we going to do this? But the thing, the answer to that question is you do it because you don't have a choice. You do it because you show up every day, and and I know, if me and you, if we show up every day and we just do the work, everything else happens around that. God's going to take care of us. Our hard work will take care of us. Like all this stuff works together.
Yeah. And I don't remember who said it, but they say you grow through what you go through, right? And that's exactly what it is. Every day, every challenge that we face, is a opportunity for us to grow.
So I talked to my dad a lot about this stuff, and he says, they say what don't kill you will make you stronger. And I'm like, dude, I could pick up a freaking house right now. I should be so damn strong. Like because there's just times. There's just times where you just like, dude, how do I live through this? Like, I don't know. And usually I'm just going to tell you, usually they're wrapped up with a couple of things, usually financial or staffing or supply, like it's, and when all those things are in sync, just all I can tell you is you better hang on tight because the cloud's coming.
Yeah.
Because something's usually out of sync in that rotation. And, that's the entrepreneurial way.
Yeah.
Joe Kimball, humble beginnings. I have become comfortable with where I came from. So comfortable that that I never want to go back there, and humble enough to know that I'm never too good to go back there. Amen to that.
That's right.
Well, the willingness to take yourself back to zero.
Yeah.
Okay. When Mike and I bought IGL, we took ourselves back to less than zero.
Hey.
Both of us were living comfortable lives. Let's just be real. Like we both could have carried on and never considered that as an option because it required a sacrifice of going back to zero.
Yeah, I wanted to buy a dang 1969 Mustang Mach 1 fastback, and Dustin convinced me that someday I could have a whole garage full of them if we just did this. So
that's the truth. Okay. I think somebody just said, Scott Barber, that's the truth. But you know what, man? How satisfying would that car have been since after you bought it?
It'd be sitting in my garage. Yeah. I'd be looking at it is all.
And so to think that if you're in a position in your life where it's like one of those moments where you don't know how you're going to make it. And a lot of detailers are facing that right now because economies have shifted around. I think so. We feel it in our shop. I think you felt it in yours, a little bit of a surge, a bounce back. I mean, it should be our slowest part of the season. And we have months like we're set to do better this month than we did a few months ago.
Yeah.
And so that says a lot about where we're going. But it also is a time for you to really look deep into where's your money going? What are you spending it on? Where are areas that you can improve? Where can you become efficient? And then also, what other opportunities are out there?
Yeah.
Chevy Frank, which is a local detailer to you, right?
Mr. Chevy.
Humble beginnings. A lot of us come from a place where we were struggling at one point. Love this topic, and let me just tell you guys, it's rare. Like we're not okay. Let's just call it what it is. Detailers are not a bunch of lawyers, attorneys, and doctors. All right, we're guys and girls that work with our hands. We're typically blue collar. We come from that background, so we all carry a lot of similarities on where we come from. Okay, but we control our destiny. We control, do we want to be trapped in that? You've told me a million times, Mike, like people from your town and your community just don't do what you're doing.
Yeah.
They just don't do it.
Yeah.
Well, and especially from your family. Now, this is what you told me, so I don't want to speak for you, but that's what I gathered from it.
Yeah.
And here you are, what we would consider making big moves and controlling that. So you're kind of coming out of that mindset and that you come from to step out on a limb and take
Yeah.
this shit.
I mean, my college was never an option in my family. It was never even asked. Like my parents never thought about it. Like I didn't go to college because of it. Like I was on the A honor roll, but I didn't go to college because it was never talked about, And so then when I got opened up a business, I still to this day, there's certain things that I probably like. You and I will have a conversation. Like, I don't know, like I'm successful, but maybe I should be doing something different. Right. It's just part of it, And I had I told you this story the other day when we were on a walk. I had a gentleman, and you had the same thing happen to you. I had a gentleman that we're in a small town, and when I first opened up my first shop, he told me, "You're never going to make it." And I don't think he meant anything by it. Just the fact of, I think he was trying to warn me, like, don't put all your eggs in one basket because Stanley's too small for a detail shop. And it was about 10 years later, 12 years later, he came back into my shop because he's a loyal customer of mine. And he said, I remember that time I told you you weren't going to make it, and you made it, and I'm happy for you, So, that's just, it goes right back to what you're saying. Like when we get our mind made up and things are tough, and that's when things are tough, that's when you have to make that determining factor. Am I going to make it work, or am I going to give in? And if you make it work, if you do everything you can, it will work out. It's not going to be easy, but it will work out.
Yeah, and quitting is the easy part. And then again, like you're suffering one way or the other. When you quit, it's not instant. It may be instant relief, but you still have problems. Like it's not like all your problems go away. So if you're going to continue to suffer, you might as well suffer in what's providing for you.
Right.
And yes, there's times where you may need to look at it and adjust and make changes, but that's part of the growth. You got to fight through it, and it's not easy. And entrepreneurship, business ownership is not easy. I have a guy back in my shop that he started a few days ago, and he left to go run his own business probably a year ago. And he called me the other day, and he sent me this long message. He said, "Would you take me back?" And he said, "I realized that it's a lot harder than I thought, and you guys make it look easy." And so I used it as a coaching list this morning. This team, I said, "Y'all, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and if it is, it's usually because there's shit in it, and sorry, but the truth is like." This is hard. None of it's easy. And you can look at Mike and I and watch the post and the fun that we have, but I can tell you there's conversations where we both talk each other off the ledge I would say every day, but very often.
We transfer it. We transfer the energy.
Okay, that's the truth. That's the truth. If you guys want to know if you're Mike will transfer his crazy over to me, and it's like I can't look at him at certain times because I don't want it. Like I'm happy where I'm at and whatever's going on in the situation, and he's not, and he tries to offload his crazy. So make sure you don't look at people when they're trying to transfer their crazy. That's my word of advice. He's trying to do it right now. But you know what? The thing is we all go through it. I love this topic of humble beginnings because what it does is it takes what you see on social media and it puts it in perspective. Social media is a platform where we all see the best of each other. Like we all see what we want to show. What you don't see is those moments where Mike and I are on the phone going, okay, well, how do we do this? How is this even possible? Or the conversations late night with detailers where you're really dealing with issues and conversations, at the warehouse with staff and all this stuff. You don't see these in the days you want to pull your hair out. Y'all go through them too. We do as well. And so this conversation really kind of lays it out there on a platter and says, guys, we're all in this together. I say that a lot because I mean it. And it's like, we all come from similar backgrounds, chasing the same dream. And, it's just a matter of, chasing those opportunities now,
Yes, sir.
What else you got, man? Great topic. Okay, here we go. Brandon Lever, no college for me either. In fact, I never finished high school as I simply wanted to pursue my dreams more than I wanted to finish school. Wow.
Yeah. And
That's
Brendan's a sharp
is a
guy too.
dude. He is a rock star, man. Brendan he kicks ass. So I'll tell you about my school career. I did finish high school. I went to college, but I went to college at nights. I paid my own way, except for one $600 scholarship that my mom got. She didn't get that. I wrote the paper for the Cherokee tribe. She proved that we had a piece of Native American in us, and so
You can own a casino then.
I tried. I don't have enough to get my check, but you can see my diplomas up there. But I went to school at nights. I never went to school during the day. I always worked. I paid my way, bought my books, every dime of it. I did. And I'll be honest with you. I've always felt like I was smarter than the instructors that were teaching the class. And I ran business the entire time. If you look down here, that's my first business license when I was 14 years old. And I've ran businesses ever since that day. So that was 26 years ago, and I've never not owned a business since then. And there was business before that, to be honest with you. So, this is not a fad for me or like something I'm just trying out. Like, this is true passion, but we come from those beginnings. What other comments we got? Jim Casper, my own dad told me I wouldn't make it charge 150 because oh man, boy, you can do a whole show on that.
Yeah.
Like Mike, I care about
Jeremy runs a really good business in Minnesota. Him and I actually did some business together too, and he's got quite the thing going. So he does it right from his house. He has a shop, a separate shop, and does everything from PPF. I think he does window tint and paint correction and everything.
Boy, that ain't the word of the week. PPF tint.
Yeah.
What's the dollar spot? Good morning. What's up? What's up? It is a good morning. Ray. Oh, Ray. Sunshine makes everything better. You're absolutely right, man. Guys, get out there and get some sun. It gives you life. Jose Martinez. I haven't talked to him in a while. Hey, guys, let me tell you. Jose's local to me. We did some coaching together. He is a hard worker, man. He's got more passion than probably anybody. And he's just a good guy all around. So what else we got?
Good morning, Billy.
Billy Smith. Good morning. What's up, brother? What's up?
He's been up for a while because him and I were messaging, I think, at about 4:30 or so. So he's been up. He's a hustler.
Yes, he is. He is. Let's see. Vandy Smith, our shoes did not even have a brand on them.
Vandy, I'll tell you a story. I don't even know what brand it was, but that's what made me start like buying. I had to go out and get a different pair of shoes. I had these shoes that I found at like I don't know if it was a Prangy Way or a Shopko or what, but they look like Adidas's. They're basically knockoffs. Like they had the 3 lines, but it didn't go through. And I bought them because I'm like, okay, like this is the closest thing I can get to, And sadly, like I had classmates that
they called you out.
They called me out and made fun of me. So I had to hustle and make like $85 so I could go buy a pair of Asics.
See, I would have definitely bought the knockoffs. My mom, it wasn't an option. And do you know, to this day, I still feel guilty to spend like over $100 on a pair of shoes. My mom would absolutely have never spent $100 on a pair of shoes. That wasn't even an option, dude. Like, if I had my own money and she's with me, we wouldn't spend $100 on a pair of shoes. I'm like, this is my money.
Yeah.
Dakota, thank you guys so much.
Another local for me.
Yeah, listen, this is easy, like sharing this kind of stuff, talking about this stuff comes natural to Mike and I because we talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
It looks like I'm late to the party this morning.
Real quick question, Dustin. Like, let's fast forward it now. We had very, very humble beginnings in the beginning when we were young. How do you balance that with your own child? I feel that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I have to tell myself to slow down because I want to give them as much. And now, I have 2 batches of kids, right? I had less money with my first batch, and now I have Raleigh where I could afford to get her more if I wanted to. And it's sometimes I have to tell myself to slow down because I want her to have everything I didn't have, but
Yeah.
I don't want to taint that her growth. So it's a really tough situation,
No, it is. And that's a great question is how do you juggle that? Like how do you fight the urge to give them what you didn't have? Because what we didn't have actually made us who we are.
Yeah.
Okay. That gave us the drive, the energy. I did a little video on work-life balance, and I think it's a piece of it is showing them what it takes to get what we have. It's not let it be a distinct line where we shield them from this, but we embrace it and say, this is the hard work, but this hard work is what it takes because, unlike people that just have like wealthy families where it's just handed to you and you go piss it away, like this is hard work, and every dollar that comes into our household is worked for,
Yeah.
and so making sure that they show that. Here we go. Chris said most of us fall into entrepreneurship, never do their due diligence in taking risk and take uncalculated risk. Calculating the risk allows you to create opportunity versus creating opposition. Okay, I'm going to speak to that, Chris, because I'm the world's worst. I am. Like here's the thing about it. In my opinion, numbers and research and all that can be manipulated in how you feel. If you feel a way about something, you will bend those numbers. You will bend those concepts. I do think that in Mike and I did a ton of just down to the bones of IGL. Like, what do we have to do? What are our minimums? What do we have to do to make this work? Like, we did that part. We did the hard part, and you're probably right. Most people don't do that. They just say they have an idea. This is going to be a business. But like to think like if I did market research out for the next 10 years and say like how are coding, like I that is probably my downfall, and I'm more apt to just say, you know what, I'm a hard worker, and I'm going to lean on the work side of it. Love Chris's take there. He is a local entrepreneur, a very good friend of mine, and someone that I share a lot of similarities to in business. He has a very big inflatable and now rental business of Vault Blue Rents, and he is growing exponentially. Super smart guy. I mean, he's Asian. He's got to be smart. That's a joke with him, by the way. It's an inside joke between us.
Yeah.
Scott Barber dropped out of high school at 16. Got my diploma, worked hustle till I got my wife. Probably should be dead or in jail. Met my wife, and she showed life is worth doing better. Went to college for IT. Did that for years, but I was never ever started until on the side. Wow. I mean, look, guys. We all been there, and we all have a different story. It's and you're in control of your destiny. And just know that you're not in this.
Congratulations, Scott.
What's that?
I said congratulations to Scott. All these people that are in here. I mean, it's amazing to see.
This is okay. This is something I want to speak to very quickly on. Katie Head. She runs the warehouse. She also handles boat show sales. She's kind of a jack of all trades. Yeah, she's awesome, by the way. I have a college degree that I'm not even using and don't regret it at all. Working for Dustin is the best. She works with me, not for me. So I'm going to correct her on that. And that's just who I am as a leader. I don't believe in anybody. I don't have like employees and all that. I call them, we're team members. We're all on the same team. All right. Second of all, degrees. I have degrees up here that mean nothing that I do not use. There are multiple people in our businesses that have degrees. Chelsea, she is kind of director of operations here. She handles all the like events and things like that, all of our planning and stuff. She came out of the back office. She started in the floral and retail and growing her way up. She has a degree in education, doesn't use it. Ashton has a degree. I forget what Ashton's degree is in. She doesn't use it. There are quite a few people on our team that have degrees that don't use it. And it just goes to show you, like you never know where your life's going to take you.
No.
All right. Brandon Lemon, no college for me either. In fact, it didn't finish. We got that one. Yeah. Cool. Cool, man. Great conversation.
Yeah, a lot of input there. So.
Chris Taylor, I'm an Asian. Oh man, that's my buddy. That's awesome. Yeah, we did a shop talk one time, and he's so Chris is famous in his own rights. He was on Sports Center, the game day, college game day, like when it was in its infancy, and he was the guy that's holding one of the signs that says I'm an Asian, and he's hooting and hollering on day. And he went viral before viral could go viral, and like it's the whole thing, man. You have to look him up. But we did a shop.
So next time when I come to the boat show, I'm gonna have a shirt that says that.
You got to. Okay, here we go. I don't know about you guys, but today's episode is packed with awesome content. Love this. That's awesome, Chevy. Appreciate the shout out there. And again, guys, it's because it's real. A lot of the stuff you see on social media, even you watch YouTube, you watch these motivational videos, right? And you listen to them enough, you're like, it's just, man, it's like, okay, is that real life? This is real life. Real life is hard. We all come from small backgrounds. We all come from humble beginnings, and we built our way through this thing, and we'll continue to do so.
Yeah, and with that being said, I don't remember the whole thing, but they say, hey, the first generation builds it, the second generation runs it, the third generation, destroys it or whatever. It's a cycle, right? If we're not careful, it becomes a cycle.
It is. It's very much a cycle, and I think to continue to teach that it's the work side of it, because that part never ends. All right, if that's all the comments, man, that was a great conversation. Oh, one more. Randy Smith. Yep, I don't use my degrees either, nursing and accounting. Well, I'm grateful for the accounting knowledge. It definitely helps. Oh my gosh, yeah, it absolutely helps. It absolutely helps. My background is construction and engineering. But I like to build things, like whether it's software, whether it's a business, whether it's a process, whether it's I like to start with something like nothing and build it to something.
Yeah.
Or start with something and fix it until it's better than the next thing. And that's just like that's my background. I love numbers. Numbers are definitive for me. They make sense.
Awesome.
Whatever. Great conversation, brother. Appreciate you as always. And we'll be back next week.
Everybody listening.
Yeah, thank y'all. Thanks for all the comments. That was huge.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you.
See you guys.